And this is Milton City Councilman Matt Kunz from District 2, and hadn't done a video in a while. We just had a pretty long one that happened with regards to the zoning case. And again, these thoughts are my own, and I don't speak on behalf of everybody on the council. But this was kind of interesting because this dealt with the southeast corner of the Birmingham Crossroads tonight. And it was very interesting. You know, a lot of questions about what should happen. What a lot of people didn't realize on this particular development was that the developer originally had access and the right to develop 33 townhomes on that piece of property on the southeast corner. But there's a history there you got to understand. That was approved by Fulton County before we ever became a city in 2004. And then it came before us again in 2014, which the council at that time approved a plan that actually reduced some of the density. But there was a discrepancy in our code and some confusion in that required a buffer to go between where the townhomes would be and where the AG1 property would be. Challenge is that this is all one property, and we've never really had a buffer in the middle of a single property that was being discussed for a variance. So when it came before us the first time around back in April, there were some questions that I asked the city attorney. You might have seen them on some videos that people put out there. But I was trying to find out, you know, is the passage of a variance of this, is it at all illegal in any shape or form? And the city attorney, of course, said no, we could pass whatever variance we wanted to. But he did have a concern with the language of our variance codes that would allow it, and he thought it was very strong, and he advises not to do it without any kind of, you know, understanding of what the risk would be if we did or didn't do it. It's very interesting on that. And so we had some questions here in my 7 years on the council that we hadn't really had before, and we had to make sure we get it right. So when that vote came up then, I just had more questions, and I think the council did as well. We couldn't really come together with a conclusion to vote yes on that. So what happened was, according to the code, the developer was able to bring it back before us 6 months later. And they did make a few changes with that. There were no backroom deals as far as anybody knows. It was just one of those things where he had a right to bring it forth. It's time passed, it came before us again. And we had a lot of citizens who at first thought that allowing the variance would increase the density. We heard that from a lot of people back in April, but then they understood that actually allowing the variance put this property back to the 2004 allowance that they have with Fulton County of the 33 townhomes. So what we had here, looking at it, was to look at it and understand exactly what our variance codes state, how the codes actually work, and realize in our mind as a council that there was a question of the buffer being in the middle of a property that was being considered, and we couldn't find an example where a development had that happen before. So, how's it going? So we're trying to figure out how to do the right thing. So ultimately, with the extraordinary circumstances that was there, you know, as a council, we could look at it with a variance code and interpret it in that way. And then really it comes down to a question of subjectivity then of what is best as far as that property goes. So ultimately, the decision was passed 4-2. And the southeast corner was passed, so you're now going to have 25 single-family cottages instead of the 33 townhomes there. You'll have some green space there. You'll have one less road entryway on Birmingham Highway, Birmingham Road, some commercial space, and it's really, in my mind, an opportunity to direct development the right way rather than just let it happen to us. So this has come before us before. It's been tricky. We had to make sure we got it done right. Several citizens came up asking for us to deny it. Others came up asking for us to pass it. And so for that perspective, in a split decision, we opted to pass it. So anyway, getting some things done here in the city. Sorry for the long message. This one was a little bit complicated. You can follow me on Twitter at MattKunz59. You can go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/MattKunzGOV. And again, Literary Festival this weekend, come to that. Veterans Day breakfast coming up on Saturday morning as well. Literary Festival happens after that. And thanks to all the volunteers who put up the flags up and down Deerfield and Crabapple. This was a good time doing that this past weekend. So a lot of good things going on here as well. So anyway, if you have any questions, reach out to me, and I thank you for being the best part of Milton. Take care.